Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. What's the difference between spirituality and religion? I'm Pam Kane. I'm a certified theta healing practitioner and an ascension guide. I'm here to teach people how to get to and through the ascension and awakening process. What I'm going to share with you is one of the biggest keys that has gotten me to where I am today. And you know, I've said before, you ask and you'll get your answers. You just have to be open to what comes. Well, since my last video, I've asked for guidance. What am I supposed to talk about in my next video? And in the same time, going through this process, I was like, what was it that triggered the true awakening for me? Well, yesterday, a friend of mine was asking me some questions and I was explaining things to him. And in the process, God's amazing. When you listen and open your ears for messages, it's amazing. So I'm explaining things and we're talking, and all of a sudden I got an answer to what was the big door I walked through for this process. And it goes back because growing up, I always knew that there was something about me that was different. I mean, my parents always told me I had this crazy attachment to animals. Well, I didn't think anything of it until years later. And then that started part of the process. Then I have been through so many coaches and just looking for information, trying to find different answers, trying to find the answer. And I was dealing with, I guess, a spiritual coach before I left Powhatan. And she told me, she's like, one of the biggest things that I had to really come to grips with was that I wasn't a Christian. Well, at that point, I considered myself a Christian. And let me just preface the rest of this with I'm not knocking any religion. I'm not knocking any beliefs. I'm not here in judgment at all. This is simply the process that I went through to get to where I am. So she said I had to realize I wasn't a Christian. And I was like, I mean, at that point, that hit me. I'm like, what? What? Why am I sitting here talking to you? And so jump a few months later. And now remember, well, not remember, but the whole time I was in Powhatan, my daughter would not speak to me. That was part of my journey. So, I mean, it was tough. It was very tough. So, leap forward to where I am in Appomattox now. And my daughter, thank the Lord, finally opened back up to me. And she was talking to me one day, and she tells me, that she's studying something other than Christianity. Now, she was raised in a church, all that kind of stuff, and she was one of those victims of college where they go in and they mess with your brain and tell you if it's not proven, it doesn't exist. So anyway, that's a whole nother story. But she comes to me and we're talking, and she's like, Mom, you realize you dealing with all these crystals and all that kind of stuff goes against everything that you claim to be. And I'm like, what? Meanwhile, I'm still in this, I'm a Christian, you know, and it hit me wrong. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, none of that's in the Bible. And I'm like, Okay. And I thought about it and I had to go back and meanwhile, dealing with I had gotten so wrapped up in the crystals, and I'm not knocking crystals. I have them all over my house. But I was putting so much emphasis in the crystals that all of a sudden things started shutting down for me. And I was like, what in the world? And God told me, he's like, Pam, you're forgetting the point. And I was like, oh, the point is it's ultimately God, creator, source, whatever you want to call it. Again, I'm not, what you call it, what you believe is what you believe. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. So that was the first conversation we had. And I was like, and I stepped back and thought about it. Well, then later she tells me she's practicing this other thing, and she's like, one of the problems that, and when she told me, my initial response, because what are we taught our whole lives? Your religion is the only thing that's right. It can't be any other way. Why not? Why not? So my Christian mind was like, okay, well, you're not a Christian, so what you're studying is wrong. Part of me, because I had been through losing her, was in fear of losing her again. So it was like, Pam, shut up and listen. Just listen to her. Biting my tongue, I was like, okay, well, tell me what it is that you're studying. And she said one of the biggest problems with Christianity is Christians, and again, this is my story. Christians think that because they think that because God will save them, God will forgive them, it's okay to go sin. So they go sin, they ask for forgiveness, they go sin, they do the same sin, and then ask for forgiveness. Where is that making them a better person? And I was like, oh my gosh. That went through me like not in a bad way, because for years I had said part of the biggest problems with churches is the division and the judgment and the hypocrites, doing exactly what she's telling me that is her issue with Christians. And I was like, oh my gosh. So, but I will tell you, the biggest part of that was my learning that I need to let judgment go. Because if I'm a true Christian, I don't judge. And that was where everything started opening up for me. Because I started realizing that it's not about being a Christian. It's not about being a Jew. It's not about being a Muslim or whatever other religion there is. There's no right or wrong. Everybody has their opinion. Where is it for me to judge them? It's not. And at the end of the day, honestly, who's to say I'm right? You don't know until you take your last breath. And then by then, it's kind of late. But, so, but churches all along have preached, maybe unknowingly, but they have preached division, leading you to believe that the church that you're in is all there is, and it's the right path. Why can't there be a right path in all of it? Just because it's not exactly what you believe doesn't mean it's wrong. So when I stopped judging and stopped judging my daughter and opened my mind, again, open your mind to what else is out there. When I did that, it opened a completely different relationship with my daughter. And it has grown me like I cannot even tell you. So, but it took that experience, it took that situation for God to get the message through me that I need to stop judging. Because until that point, I was just as guilty as the people that I was judging because I was doing the same thing. And yes, there at that point, there were still sins because I was doing the same flipping thing. I was sinning and saying, "Oh, God will forgive me. I want to go do this, but God will forgive me. All I have to do is ask." And he did. He would forgive me. And he would always, because God loves us unconditionally. He doesn't say, "Oh, well, you went and did this, so no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to forgive you again." He always forgives. But he uses situations to bring us closer to him. Even the stuff that we consider bad, just like the whole situation with and my daughter not speaking to me was only a small part of what I went through. That was only a small part. But it was huge for me. So, but he uses situations, even the stuff that we consider to be bad or depressing or whatever, he uses them to wake us up and to bring us closer to him. That is his ultimate goal, is to bring us and get us awake to the fact that there's more things out there than what we've been taught our whole lives. So, like I said, that was when I had that conversation yesterday. It hit, and I was telling him, all this stuff about, my daughter telling me what she was doing and how I opened up my mind because out of fear for losing her again, because I never, ever, 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 ever want to go through that again, ever. I can't say ever enough. I mean, I love my daughter more than life, you know. I don't want that to happen again. So, you know, so opening up and expanding my mind and not judging her, because the old me was very judgmental, extremely. Even though I didn't think I was, looking back, I was, and that goes back to the shadow work I've talked about before. Until you can really look at yourself in a unjudgmental state and go, wow, I really need to work on that. Or, gee, yeah. Like I said, I knocked people that judged all the time, even though I was doing it. So finally, God will get you where you're supposed to be. You just need to stay buckled in for the ride and trust that everything that He has for you is for a reason. It's crazy. But and that was the biggest wake up call for me. And that was when I started realizing that it's not about religion. It's about spirituality. It's opening yourself up to more than what you've been taught. It's not about religion. It's not about being a Christian. It's not about being a Jew or whatever. There's a million different religions. Okay, maybe not a million, but you know what I'm saying. Everybody has their belief. Where is it for me to judge them? I'm open. Explain it to me. Tell me your side. I'm willing to listen. I may not agree with you. I have my opinions, but where I had my opinion before my daughter said that, it opened my mind to the fact that there was more to it than what I had been taught. My opinion was this. There's this. It's huge. There's so much that I didn't know, and the more that I'm learning, the more that I'm finding there's so much I still don't know. So, when you can open your mind and stop limiting your knowledge input by judgment, it it will it will change your world for the better. So yes, I guess because I was baptized Baptist, I was saved in a Baptist church. So I guess down deep, I'm still a Christian, but that doesn't mean everybody else's religion is wrong. I don't look at it that way anymore. As long as you're trying to get closer to God, and as long as you're living a life that you're supposed to live, and yesterday, the same friend was like, "Well, you talk about unconditional love. Well, that doesn't exist except for in a child." And I was like, "No. Just because it's unconditional love doesn't mean I'm in love or agree with everybody. That's not it. Un- Unconditional love means you love them unconditionally, just like God loves you. God says, love your neighbor as yourself. You're supposed to love yourself and your neighbor. It doesn't matter what your neighbor's doing. It really doesn't. Because he even asked me, he's like, "So do you love Biden?" And I was like, "Yes." Doesn't mean I'm in love with him. It doesn't mean I agree with what he does. But as the spiritual being that he is, just like everybody else, yes, I love him. Because in the bigger picture, I understand that we all come into this life for a purpose, literally. And everything truly happens for a reason. And good stuff always comes out of the bad stuff. If you look at what has happened in the last 2 years, even though it's been horrific for some people, it's been on overall in the big scheme of things, it has been a blessing because it has woken more people up spiritually and to what's going on in the world, to all the corruption. If that hadn't happened, most of us would still be asleep and oblivious to what was going on and how we've been controlled and enslaved all of our lives. Now people are finally waking up to knowing that spiritually there's more to it. And in the realm that, wait a minute, this isn't right. What? No, stop. So, and it's starting to come out, you know? So, I had, I think that was pretty much it. So, like I said, I had to check my notes. Like I said, God will take the bad stuff and make something positive come out of it every time. You just have to be open and not play a victim. I could have gone the victim role and woe is me. And I did for a while. I really, truly did. That's what kept sucking me down into the hole of the living hell I was living in. When I realized it wasn't about me, well, it was about me, but that was part of why I was in that hole. Because it was just, I don't even know how to explain it. But when I realized I needed to work on me and God was working on me, and I opened up to whatever He had for me, it's been amazing. So, like I said, just open your mind to the fact that there is more. And real quick, I will just tell you there's an analogy that I heard the other day. If there's a 10-story building, you walk in on the first floor, you see what's on the first floor, you understand it. You think, oh, well, there's a second floor. Let me go there. You go up to the second floor, you see it. You go to the third floor, you see it, you experience it. You try to go to the fourth floor and you can't get there. Does that mean the fourth floor doesn't exist? No. It just means you haven't been there yet. You don't know what's there to experience. It doesn't mean there's not a fifth floor and a sixth floor and a seventh floor and so on. You just haven't been there yet. We've been granted in this physical body the keys up to the third floor. That's 3D. Some of us have seen 4 and 5D. Some of us have seen 6 and 7D. Just because you might not have experienced it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Open your mind spiritually, and you will get the key to the fourth floor. And my job is to help you because the initial door going into the fourth floor can be kind of dark. That's where the shadows are. That's where the stuff is that you got to get through to get to the top of the fourth floor to get to the fifth floor. My job is to be there to help you get through the darkness. And just like I had to work on me and see and come to realization that I wasn't as good as I thought I was. In fact, I was pretty bad. And when I realized that and I started working on that and being open to what I needed to work on and clearing the stuff that was hard to see, I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to, I'm not sitting here in a proud moment telling you this stuff about me. I'm telling you this stuff because everybody has it. You just have to open your mind to see it and have the spiritual hunger. Let that hunger override everything in you. Because when you are hungry enough, you will fight through the bad stuff to get to the light. I used to say, and this same thing, I used to say all the network marketing stuff, they all talk about the stuff you have to go through. Life, there is stuff you have to go through. Everybody has a pile of shit, excuse my language, a pile of shit to go through. You can either choose to go through it slowly to get to the other side, or you can go through it fast. Some of us struggle getting through it. I'm there to help you get through it, but you have to be willing to get to the other side and know that there is a brighter side on the other pile, on the other side of all that shit. So, anyway, we all go through it. I'm no different than anybody else. You're not different than anybody else. You're not granted the keys to the fourth floor or the fifth floor for being a good person. Mm-mm. So, anyway, that's pretty much it for today. But I just wanted to let you know that there is a huge difference between spirituality and religion. If you have a question about that, if it's not, if I didn't clarify that for you, reach out to me, post below, just say, hey, I'm still not clear. I still don't get it. Or email me. And because, you know, I didn't get it before either. I don't know what's going to be that key that's going to turn in the lock for you. God does. We can help, I can help you get there. So anyway, like, subscribe to my channel, and we will continue this journey. My job is to help you get to the fourth and fifth floor and beyond. So anyway, I hope everybody has a great day. I love you all unconditionally. There is no judgment here, literally. That's all gone. So anyway, love and light, and we will talk soon.